In early 2016, Silicon Valley operated under an aggressive assumption about the future of transportation. Engineers believed they could iterate their way to self-driving cars on public roads, pushing out code updates with the same speed as a social media app. The broader automotive industry largely treated this new artificial intelligence as an optional upgrade. They looked at complex neural networks and saw a bolt-on feature, a software patch they could simply attach to existing hardware, much like traditional cruise control. Tesla, led by Elon Musk, stood at the vanguard of this push. They were determined to get their driver assist software into the hands of consumers as quickly as possible, bypassing the decades-long testing cycles typical of legacy automakers. But this engineering timeline ignored a critical variable. It assumed human beings would interact with these systems purely logically, overlooking the unpredictable ways drivers behave when a machine takes the wheel. This blind spot created a specific psychological disconnect known as the expectation gap. A machine calculates strict, limited probabilities based on its sensors, but when a system works flawlessly 99 times out of 100, human drivers tend to assume absolute trust. We behave as if the machine understands the world exactly like we do. A typical software glitch is merely a minor inconvenience. In a 2-ton vehicle moving at 70 miles an hour, that same cognitive gap turns a minor software limitation into a physical catastrophe. This disconnect wasn't just a design flaw, it was a dormant liability. The technology was capable enough to win a driver's confidence, but not sophisticated enough to handle the rare, high-stakes moments that lead to a crash. Those conditions aligned on May 7, 2016. Joshua Brown was driving down a highway in Williston, Florida, under a bright, cloudy sky. He was in his Tesla Model S, cruising at highway speeds with the Autopilot system engaged. The software was managing the steering and speed as he moved through the intersection. Ahead of him, a large tractor-trailer began to cross perpendicularly across the highway, directly blocking the path of the vehicle. Autopilot relied on a forward camera. Because the trailer was white against a bright sky, the software failed to distinguish the obstacle, concluding the path was clear. Neither system nor driver recognized the hazard. The car maintained velocity, striking the trailer without deceleration. Joshua Brown was killed on impact. This single event demonstrated that in the open world, sensory edge cases aren't just software bugs, they are lethal vulnerabilities. The crash exposed a vacuum in legal and ethical responsibility. Regulators had to determine if the blame lay with the driver, the manufacturer, or the code that governed the vehicle's movements. Tesla defended the system as a Level 2 driver assist feature, noting that it functioned as engineered and legally required constant human supervision. The NHTSA eventually agreed, finding no specific technical defect in the hardware. However, the branding of the system created its own risks. The name Autopilot implies a level of autonomy that the hardware does not possess, encouraging drivers to lower their guard and trust the machine more than the engineering documentation allows. This tragedy revealed a systemic failure, where commercial marketing outpaced technical reality, creating a gap the user was never prepared to bridge. The illusion of frictionless AI deployment dissolved as the global automotive industry confronted the violent reality of machine failure. U.S. regulators at the NHTSA moved quickly to address the fallout. They began drafting the first comprehensive testing frameworks to ensure that autonomous features met rigorous safety standards before hitting public roads. The ripple effect reached the European Union, which initiated work on new liability directives. These rules aimed to establish clear legal accountability for software-driven accidents. Behind the scenes, the insurance industry began a massive financial recalculation. They realized the existing risk models for semi-autonomous vehicles were insufficient for the actual dangers observed on the road. Companies suddenly faced a reality that autonomous software carried massive, unquantified legal risks that no amount of clean code could fully mitigate. The Florida crash permanently transformed the automotive sector into the world's primary testbed for AI governance in safety-critical environments. It proved that organizations cannot simply apply old legal models to new software. Entirely new frameworks for accountability must be built to handle the unique challenges of machine-led decision-making. This leaves the industry with a difficult choice. If partial automation makes human attention unreliable, the logical progression is to engineer the driver out of the equation altogether. As we move toward full autonomy, we must ask, What new, unforeseen systems will break when the industry finally attempts to take the driver out of the seat completely?